Miraculous blessings manifest today. Trust in His divine presence. 3 heavenly signs await you. In a quaint urban parish, enveloped by the vibrant sounds of church bells and the scents of blooming flowers, Margaret knelt before the altar, desperation woven into her every prayer. The flickering candles cast dancing shadows, and the air buzzed with a divine energy as she sought solace for her son, Samuel, whose fragile body grew weaker by the day. 8 years old, and yet burdened with a terminal illness that strained the limits of her faith. And as she wished for a miracle, her beloved Saint Jude, the saint of lost causes, stood sentinel in her heart, whispering hope amidst her anguish. As the days turned into weeks, news of Samuel's condition spread like wildfire through the community. They wrapped Margaret and Samuel in a tapestry of prayer and devotion. Each week, a prayer group gathered in the church basement, their voices rising like fragrant incense. It was during one of these gatherings that a trusted elder revealed a prophetic word: 3 heavenly signs will herald Samuel's recovery. The words pulsed with excitement. Margaret felt a spark of hope ignite within her weary soul. The congregation stood united, tears glistening in their eyes like morning dew, as they eagerly awaited divine confirmation. Yet, as hope bloomed once more, the darkness began to creep back in. That very week, a doctor's grimly delivered news struck like a thunderclap, threatening to drown out the chorus of faith. Margaret stumbled from the office, her heart weighed down by despair. The world became blurry, the laughter of children drifting from nearby playgrounds twisting into haunting echoes. How could she fight this battle alone? In a torrent of emotion, she decided to invite the community for a united prayer vigil, desperate for collective strength. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The vigil drew a massive crowd, the church brimming with faces shining with fervent expectation. As they gathered, a gentle yet profound stranger appeared, speaking of angelic protection and divine purpose. His words caressed their souls, weaving through the air like a warm breeze, instilling courage during that formidable hour. That night, Margaret's heart swelled with both faith and uncertainty, for what if the signs the elder spoke of were not for her? Suddenly, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. The congregation's collective breath held like a prayer, longing for Samuel. Their prayers soared as they turned their hearts toward heaven, and in a miraculous moment, Samuel's frail body began to stir. Light enveloped him, warm and golden, a divine embrace, and the church gasped in awe. Eyes widened in disbelief, joy erupting as hearts leaped. Was it true? A miracle witnessed by them all, as if heaven painted a masterpiece in that sacred space, but in the stillness that followed, doubts crept like shadows. What does this mean? Could this fleeting moment of hope transform into everlasting grace? As the congregation celebrated, Margaret held her breath, pondering the deeper implications for her family's journey ahead, the question echoing within her: would their faith withstand the trials to come? Margaret's heart raced as she clutched Samuel's tiny hand, feeling the warmth radiate from him as if he were pulsing with newfound life. The church was alive with joyous laughter and shouts of praise, but a thick fog of uncertainty clouded Margaret's mind. She gazed around at the faces, every expression a vivid reflection of hope. Yet, could it truly be hope? Or just a fleeting moment of exhilaration that might be snatched away? In the days following that miraculous night, Margaret found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Each morning brought fresh prayers and unshakable anticipation, but each night fell heavy with fears that whispered in the dark corners of her mind. Would the signs truly come? And if they did, would they sustain her and Samuel through the storms yet to unfold? As Samuel began to engage in small acts of play, he seemed blessed by an extraordinary strength. He giggled as he chased the sunlight that poured through the windows, innocent and unaware of the burdens weighing on his mother's heart. Each echo of his laughter felt like a balm for Margaret's soul, reminding her of the beauty still woven into their lives, but questions loomed. As they visited the doctor one more time, the shadows that danced in the corners of her mind took form in the doctor's grave face. "We need to monitor him closely," he said, the words dripping with caution. What if the miracle was fleeting? This question tangled itself within her spirit. That very night, as the congregation gathered once again, the atmosphere was charged with collective energy. Margaret stood at the front, a microphone trembling in her hand, as she shared their journey, the pain, the soaring moments, and the bubbling fear. She felt raw and exposed, yet empowered by the shared faith surrounding her. "It is true," she declared, her voice trembling but resolute. "We have witnessed a miracle. But miracles don't mean the absence of trials. They invite us to walk deeper into His promise. Together, we will fight against despair, and trust that something great will emerge from this struggle." The congregation surged forward, enveloping her and Samuel in a warm embrace of prayers. Their hearts beat in unison, murmurs of faith drifting into the night sky, blending like incense rising to the heavens. It was a humble reminder of their shared struggle, a sacred chorus of voices reaching for divine intervention. As prayer turned into worship, the room pulsed with divine energy. Margaret could feel a tangible presence, a whisper that radiated through her veins. In that instant, clarity struck her. If they were to see the full manifestation of God's plan for Samuel, it would require a deeper trust and understanding. With every prayer, every amen that echoed back to the heavens, they were forging a spiritual connection that belied the doubts. Just as she thought they had reached a harmonious crescendo, an unexpected chill swept through the crowd. There, amongst the jubilance, a hush enveloped the space. A vision unveiled itself, brushing across Margaret's consciousness like a feather. A brilliant light flickered in her mind, a sign, something radiant yet unbound by explanation, which spoke of greater purpose and unity. That very moment felt surreal, like stepping into the realm of the miraculous where time suspended as faith unfolded. And beneath the reverent silence, her heart whispered a prayer for understanding. What was this sign meant to convey? What awaited them beyond this threshold of healing? As the congregation was caught in a shared breath, their devotion unyielding, Margaret felt her heart quickening. The journey ahead was shrouded in mystery, and she knew their story was far from over. In that sacred space filled with palpable hope, the question stirred within her: what would they discover together as they ventured further into the light of divine promise? The days turned into a blur of anticipation and fear, each merging into the next like the colors of a sunset. Samuel's laughter still echoed sweetly in their home, brightening the corners of her heart where darkness threatened to creep back in. But Margaret felt that familiar weight pressing down on her again. Each night was a battlefield of worry, yet the morning brought with it a fragile hope, a whisper that somehow told her today might be different. At the quaint little kitchen table, Margaret scrolled through notes of praise and prayer requests the congregation had written down, their words a testament to the bonds they were forging. She selected a few, determined to weave them into her daily prayers, channeling collective faith into each word. As she wrote, a thought struck her like a bolt of inspiration: how often was faith simply a choice, a stubborn resolve to believe against the tide of uncertainty? The sun's rays danced through the window, casting golden light across the table, and Margaret felt the warmth wrap around her like a cherished embrace. Samuel walked over, his tiny feet padding softly against the wooden floor. With wide eyes filled with innocent wonder, he held up a crayon scribbled with color. "Look, Mommy. My sunshine." She smiled, feeling tears well up. His glorious imagination was a bridge connecting her to the fierce beauty of eternal hope. "Yes, my love," she said, wiping her eyes, "your sunshine is as bright as God's promises." Yet, as she hugged him tight, a shadow crept into her heart, pulling her back to the consultations with doctors and the weighty conversations she wanted to ignore. Would the sunshine last? As if echoing her fears, that question loomed larger every day, not just within her but seemingly surrounding them both. Later that week, during a prayer meeting, Margaret stood before her friends, faithful pillars in her life. They encircled her and Samuel, lifting their hands high as the atmosphere shimmered with expectation. She felt the energy swell, a palpable current of fervor. "Friends," she began, her voice steadier this time, I know that we have faced mountains together. I can feel our strength and love, even in the midst of uncertainty. The faces before her radiated warmth, and she could see hope reflected back in their eyes. In these troubling times, let us remember the light we hold within and the purpose that binds us, she urged. As they joined in a chorus of prayer, something shifted. The air grew charged, and a presence enveloped them, a grand tapestry woven from their faith. Margaret's heart thrummed in tune with theirs, a shared heartbeat of devotion. Suddenly, a quiet voice, simple yet profound, interrupted her thoughts. "What next, Lord?" The question echoed in Margaret's mind, a portal to deeper insight. When the meeting came to a close, an elderly woman approached her, eyes sparkling with revelation. "Margaret," she said softly, "the signs are all around us. Sometimes, we must look deeper than we expect to find them." Margaret felt a quiver of recognition. What had been revealed to her, a faint glimpse of divine connection and promise. The woman's words spiraled within her, urging her to embrace the unknown not with fear, but with a heart full of inquiry and trust. That night, as they prepared for bed, small shadows flickered against the walls, and Margaret whispered a prayer of gratitude. She clung to that gentle longing for revelation, a burning desire to discern the signs and understand their purpose. What did God have in store for them? As she laid Samuel down for the night, the wondrous possibilities spun through her thoughts. Would they dive deeper into God's plan together? And what awaited them on this sacred adventure? The light of the moon spilled into the room, illuminating everything with its silvery glow. Margaret rested, gathering her courage for what came next. For she knew the divine journey was just beginning, and the unfolding of their story was set to reveal something magnificent, something she could hardly imagine. What heavenly signs awaited just beyond the horizon? The morning sun broke through the curtains, washing the room in warmth and light, as Margaret stretched and took a moment to breathe deeply. Today was another step along a path she could not see, yet felt pulled towards. She glanced at Samuel, still sleeping peacefully, and a wave of love washed over her. Her heart was both full and heavy, teetering between fear and faith. After breakfast, with the comforting aroma of coffee swirling in the air, Margaret found herself drawn to the small garden outside. The flowers were just beginning to bloom. Bright yellows and soft pinks danced in the gentle breeze. It was nature's testimony to resurrection, to new beginnings. With each step she took, she whispered gratitude, deepening her connection to the earth around her. "Thank you, Lord, for every little miracle," she said aloud, watching as a bee hovered near a blossom. In that moment, she realized how alive the world was with God's presence. It filled her with an inexplicable joy, nudging her to trust that there was more ahead than she could yet fathom. As she tended to her plants, thoughts drifted to her recent revelation. The enigmatic words from the elderly woman danced in her mind, "The signs are all around us." What were these signs, she wondered? Were they tied to Samuel's journey, or perhaps to her own? Was God nudging her towards something she had yet to understand? Suddenly, Samuel burst into the garden with laughter, his little feet bringing with them a freshness that coaxed her doubts to the background. "Look at this, Mommy." He held up a small, trembling butterfly that had landed on his tiny hand. Its wings were adorned with brilliant colors, shimmering in the sunlight. "Oh, my love, look how beautiful." Margaret gasped, her heart quickening. She watched as the butterfly fluttered, its delicate wings performing an intricate dance. "Yes. Look, Mommy. It's free," he exclaimed, eyes as wide as saucers. "Exactly, sweetheart. Just like our faith, it can transform us." The butterfly became a vivid symbol in Margaret's heart, a reminder of the freedom and grace that God offered. In the days that followed, Margaret made it a point to look for signs of hope, signs of God's promises. She opened her eyes to the conversations that sparkled like stars on dark nights, to the way the church community rallied around her, sharing their own stories of faith and perseverance. Every shared laugh, every reassuring hug, felt like a stitch in a fabric of divine destiny. One afternoon, while volunteering at the church, a young woman approached her. "I just want you to know," she began, shyly intertwining her fingers, I admire your strength. I've been through similar struggles, and your light inspires me. Margaret felt a warmth swell in her chest, as if the very presence of God was wrapping around her in affirmation. She smiled, recognizing that when they shared their struggles, they created a bond stronger than any fear. Through connection, they each became a beacon of resilience for one another. Each time she shared her worries, a part of the heaviness lifted. The community's unwavering support became a tangible reflection of God's love, gently urging her to lean into trust instead of doubt. And with every prayer, every shared story, she felt the stirrings of something profound forming within her. That night, after another day filled with connection and love, Margaret knelt beside Samuel's bed. A sense of urgency filled her heart. What is it you want to show me, Lord? She whispered, her eyes closed, hands clasped tight. As she opened her eyes, she caught a glimpse of the moon again, bright and watchful against the inky sky. It hung there, an eternal promise of hope and light. Margaret's heart raced with anticipation and a bubbling curiosity. She needed to know what the next chapter held. Little did she know, the signs she had been searching for were about to reveal themselves in magnificent ways. Would she be ready to embrace the unfolding? What new journeys awaited them both? The days began to blur into a rhythm, each one unfurling like petals in Margaret's garden. Mornings were now her sacred time. She rose just before dawn, eager to welcome the sun as it danced onto the horizon, casting golden rays that gleamed with promise. In those quiet moments, before the world stirred, her heart soared. She felt closer to God, a direct connection that filled her with reassurance. One morning, as she sipped her coffee, Margaret couldn't shake a growing feeling, a gentle tug, urging her to explore more deeply. It was as if God was whispering hints of something extraordinary waiting just beyond her sight. What might it be? Her heart thumped with joy and anxiety, the duality of uncertainty charging her spirit. Mommy! Samuel's voice broke through her thoughts, innocent and bright. He rushed into the kitchen, his small hands tucked behind his back. I found something special. Wait, you have to see. His excitement was contagious, igniting a spark in Margaret's soul. As he revealed a crumpled piece of paper, she recognized the familiar scribbles of a child, a sketch of a butterfly. Beneath it, he had written, "Believe." "Oh, darling, this is beautiful," she exclaimed, kneeling to meet his gaze. "You're making me feel blessed already." "It's a sign," Samuel insisted, his eyes twinkling. "Like the lady said about signs." His youthful enthusiasm intertwined with Margaret's growing sense of purpose. How profound that a child could grasp such weighty truths. That evening, during a community gathering at the church, Margaret felt the atmosphere pulsate with hope. The congregation had gathered to share stories of resilience. As the pastor spoke, his voice rose and fell like the tide, weaving tales of miracles through the fabric of their lives. Each testimony echoed Margaret's own journey, the struggles, the prayers, the moments when God seemed most distant yet was ever close. She was captivated by a story of a woman who had found healing through surrender. "It wasn't easy," the woman shared, "but in my weakness, I learned to trust in His strength. And let me tell you, when I did, doors opened, and my heart finally felt whole." Margaret's heart quickened. Was this her sign? The lesson echoed in her mind, trust. As tears lined her eyes, she could feel the weight of her burdens lifting in the warmth of those around her. A sense of community and divine presence wrapped around her like a comforting shawl. Afterwards, as the gathering came to a close, an elderly gentleman approached her. His gaze was steady, a knowing warmth emanating from him. "You shine with a light, dear. Your journey is just beginning. Keep seeking those signs, for they will guide and uplift you." His words were soft but powerful, imprinting deeper truths on her heart. That night, as Margaret settled in with Samuel asleep beside her, she pondered those words. Hadn't she been longing for direction? She thought of the butterfly sketch, the delicate but decisive nature of faith. With a heart both heavy and hopeful, Margaret whispered, "What else is there for me to see, Lord?" An ember of light flickered in her chest, filled with expectation. In that moment, she knew she was on the verge of something beautiful. Unbeknownst to her, the journey ahead would lead to revelations that could shatter her small understanding of God's plans. Would she be ready for what awaited her? Would her heart be open when the miracles unfolded? As dawn broke on another beautiful morning, Margaret woke with a renewed sense of purpose. The sun poured through her window, casting soft rays that illuminated her room. She could still feel the warmth of the previous night's gathering, the shared stories of faith like echoes dancing in her mind. Sitting at the kitchen table, she clutched the butterfly drawing Samuel had gifted her the day before. How simple yet profound the message seemed. Believe. The thought wrapped around her heart like a gentle embrace. It was a guiding principle, a reminder that faith was not static but dynamic, alive and pulsing like the very life around her. Samuel burst into the kitchen, his usual morning exuberance ignited. "Mommy, it's time to play outside. I want to chase the butterflies." His enthusiasm was infectious, and Margaret couldn't help but smile, following him into the bright backyard. The flowers bloomed brilliantly, reflecting the colors of the vivid sky. As they scampered about, a sudden flutter caught her eye. A butterfly, its delicate wings of sapphire and gold, danced through the air. It spiraled playfully, landing nearby amidst the wildflowers. Margaret felt her breath catch. Could this be the sign? Was God painting the moment vividly for her to see? "Look, Mommy!" Samuel exclaimed, pointing. "It's beautiful." The child's wonder twinkled like stars in his eyes. In that moment, made sacred by their shared joy, Margaret felt her earlier worries ease. Despite her heart's pulse quieting, a shimmer of apprehension lingered. Trust had become her theme, but what did it truly mean to lean on faith? Her hands trembled just slightly, holding tighter to the butterfly sketch. Was it merely a child's drawing, or could it be a divine blueprint leading her further into God's plans? Later that afternoon, Margaret stepped into the local library, seeking solace amidst the pages. The scent of old books wrapped around her, comforting yet igniting a thirst for wisdom. She wandered through aisles filled with stories, some tethered to reality, others touched with dreams. On a shelf adorned with spiritual writings, she felt a pull to one particular book, its cover luminous with golden lettering. "As the heart opens, so too do the doors to your spirit," she read aloud from the first pages. Something inside her responded, a spark of recognition. The pages spoke of miracles born from surrender and belief. She felt connected to a thread far greater than herself, the warm embrace of God's promise enveloping her. Returning home, she explained the story of the butterfly's visit to Samuel. He listened intently, eyes wide, his fists clenched in excitement as if brewing ideas of his own. "What if we keep our eyes open?" he proposed with the wisdom only a child could possess. "Maybe we can see more signs." Margaret chuckled softly, touched by his innocence and insight. "Yes, sweetheart, that's the plan." That evening, as they slid into a shared routine of bedtime, she tucked the butterfly drawing safely under his pillow. "This will keep our dreams alive," she told him. As she turned to leave, a thought struck her. What if belief meant stepping into the unknown? What if it meant taking action when each sign appeared? She couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was aligning in ways she hadn't yet grasped. Margaret's heart raced with anticipation as she whispered a quiet prayer, asking for clear eyes and open ears. In her dreams later that night, she soared through a sky painted in colors of wonder, surrounded by fluttering butterflies. Soon, she awoke, the sunlight spilling through the curtains once more. Today was waiting for her. But just how vivid would that day's signs become? Would the revelations be too grand, requiring her to shed her old self to embrace the new? As she prepared for the coming day, questions lingered, wrapped in both anxiety and hope. What would the universe reveal next? The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting a golden glow across the neighborhood. Margaret stood by the window, watching the shadows dance on the lawn. Each breeze tugged at her heart, whispering promises of change. Today felt different, charged with an electricity that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. "Mommy, can we go to the park?" Samuel's voice chirped, breaking her reverie. His eyes sparkled with the enthusiasm of a child who believed in the magic of discovery. "Of course, my love," she replied, her own excitement bubbling to the surface. They hurried through breakfast, both of them buoyed by pure joy. As they walked hand in hand to the park, Margaret felt the weight of uncertainty lighten. Faith wasn't just a concept to be wrapped in theory, it was an experience to be lived, and she knew today was ripe for revelations. Upon reaching the park, they were greeted by a kaleidoscope of laughter and glee. Children raced on swings, and families gathered for picnics. A trio of butterflies flitted across their path as if leading the way, and Margaret couldn't help but think of the one from the day before. The same colors, the same joyful spirit. "Look, Mommy! They're dancing for us!" Samuel squealed, his little legs racing after them. Margaret had to chuckle. He had such a beautiful way of seeing the world. She followed him, her heart swelling as he was enveloped in shimmering hope. After a while, they settled on a grassy knoll. Samuel sprawled beside her, drawing more butterflies in the dirt with a stick while she gazed at the sky. Puffs of clouds drifted lazily, resembling the shapes of dreams. "Do you think God made the butterflies special just for us?" Samuel asked, his curiosity unending. "I think He shows us signs every day if we pay attention," Margaret replied, the words flowing from her heart. As they spoke, a sense of peace washed over her. She closed her eyes, allowing the warmth of the sun to sink into her soul. It was then that she felt it, a whisper, soft yet unyielding, a call to surrender her fear and embrace the unfolding mystery. Suddenly, a gentle reminder tugged at her heart. "Trust in His divine presence," she murmured to herself, recalling the glow of the book's cover from the library. She wasn't just letting her child chase butterflies, she was being invited to chase her faith, to find beauty among uncertainties. "Sammy, I think we should start a butterfly journal," she proposed, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm as inspiration flowed through her. "We can draw all the butterflies we see and write about the days we see them." His eyes lit up with excitement. "Can I draw the ones from my dreams too?" "Absolutely. All the butterflies, even the ones from our hearts," she beamed, her voice imbued with warmth. It was a plan, a way to chart their journey together through faith. Before they left, a shimmering orb of light caught her eye, capturing her attention like a beacon. Was it a fluke of sunlight or a divine sign? She felt pulled toward the source, and as they wandered through the park, she heard the faint chords of music. Drawn closer, they stumbled upon a small gathering of people around a musician playing sweet melodies. The air vibrated with joy. Margaret watched, captivated, feeling as if the universe was celebrating with them. Samuel twirled in circles amidst the gentle tunes, his laughter rising like a hymn of praise. In that moment, Margaret realized that her day was unfolding in ways she hadn't foreseen. Signs everywhere, encouraging her to believe and lean further into His promises. Could this be part of her journey, a reflection of the efforts she made to keep her heart open? As the last notes lingered in the air, she took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever was next. What blessings were waiting on the horizon? Would God unveil more miraculous moments? As they left the park, the questions twinkling in her heart, Margaret knew deep down today was just the beginning. What awaited them beyond this day, in the vast tapestry of faith? Margaret and Samuel strolled back home, the afternoon sun casting a warm embrace across their faces. With each step, Margaret replayed the day's moments, each laugh, each butterfly, each note from the street musician. She held Samuel's hand tightly, as if anchoring herself in the joy that tattooed her heart. "Mommy, do you think we'll see more butterflies tomorrow?" Samuel looked up at her with those wide, expectant eyes that always stirred a gentle hope within her. "Why, yes. Every day can be full of surprises," she replied, her heart hopeful. She wasn't just talking about butterflies. She felt it, deep inside was God preparing something special for them. As they approached their home, Margaret noticed a neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, fretting over her garden. The older woman knelt beside a bed of wilting flowers, her brows furrowed in concern. Without thinking, Margaret squeezed Samuel's hand, making her way over. "Mrs. Jenkins, can I help you with that?" Margaret called out, her voice warm and inviting. "Oh, dear, if you don't mind. I just can't seem to get these blooms to thrive," Mrs. Jenkins responded, her tone mixing gratitude with weariness. As they knelt beside each other, Margaret felt a nudge within her spirit. "These flowers remind me of faith," she said gently. "Sometimes they flourish with just a little care, and sometimes they need a little patience. Just like us." Mrs. Jenkins nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I feel like that sometimes. It's hard to keep faith alive when things aren't going well." Margaret shared a knowing smile, leaning in slightly. "That's when we must really hold on, isn't it? Just like the butterflies, they know when it's time to fly." Inspired, they worked together, Margaret tending the flowers while Mrs. Jenkins sprinkled them with water. Little by little, the flower bed brightened. When Samuel, pleased with his mother's efforts, started drawing butterflies in the dirt nearby, Margaret felt joy swell anew. As they finished, Mrs. Jenkins thanked them profusely, her face lighting up with hope sparked by the simple act of kindness. "You have brought new life back into my garden and my heart. You're a blessing." Margaret felt a warmth spread through her heart. Perhaps this was part of the divine orchestration she sensed earlier. Was God inviting her to see that miracles could take form in small acts of love? Walking back toward their house, Samuel skipped ahead. "Mommy, was that a butterfly too? Helping Mrs. Jenkins?" Margaret chuckled, delighted by his innocent perspective. "Absolutely, my little angel. Sometimes we are the butterflies, bringing light and joy to others." Once home, Margaret felt a prickling awareness not unlike the whispers from before. What if today is just the start of something grand? She breathed softly, almost to herself. What if each act of love led to greater revelations? That night, as they cozied on the couch, a flickering candle casting shadows, Samuel whispered sleepily, "Mommy, let us pray for more butterflies tomorrow." With a smile, she gathered him close. The room was thick with warmth as they bowed their heads together. "Dear God, thank you for today, for signs, and for the butterflies." As she prayed, a feeling surged within her, a sense of expectation. An anticipation tugged at her heart, hinting at mysteries just waiting to unfold. Maybe tomorrow would be the day when God's promises would blossom in the most miraculous way, as vibrant as the butterflies themselves. With Samuel's soft breaths beside her, she knew one thing for certain: tomorrow they would embrace whatever heavenly miracles awaited them. What revelations lingered just beyond the dawn? Would the next day bring answers to the questions that danced on her heart? The first beams of sunlight spilled through the curtains, pulling Margaret from her dreams. Samuel's laughter bubbled up, echoing through the house. It was a sound of pure joy, a herald of the day ahead. She smiled, feeling that flutter of excitement in her heart, a familiar tune played by the spirit within her. "Mommy! Look! The butterflies are here." Samuel's voice danced through the air, a melodic invitation to share in the day's enchantment. Margaret hurried to the window, her heart racing. Outside, a flurry of butterflies fluttered around, their garden golden yellows and deep blues painted against the morning sky. Each creature of light seemed like a divine brushstroke, marking a canvas of possibilities for the day. "Oh, they are beautiful," she gasped, her spirit lifting with each flit and flutter. "Do you think they have a message for us?" Samuel's eyes sparkled with wonder. "Maybe they do, sweetheart. Maybe they're here to remind us to spread our wings and soar," Margaret replied, feeling a sweet assurance wash over her. As they stepped outside, the air felt different, charged with an energy that felt almost sacred. Margaret inhaled deeply, letting the fresh scent of blossoms fill her lungs, her spirit rising with every breath of the morning. Suddenly, she noticed Mrs. Jenkins sitting on her porch. The older woman's face was shadowed with concern, shadowed as much by the past as the night's darkness. Instinctively, Margaret felt a pull, a divine nudge to reach out once more. "Mrs. Jenkins. Good morning. How are you today?" she called out, making her way toward the porch. "Oh, my dear Margaret, I'm trying to be strong," but Mrs. Jenkins' voice trembled under the weight of her words. "I received some troubling news about my health. I don't know if I have the strength to keep up with everything." Margaret's heart ached for her. In that moment, time slowed as she realized how pivotal this moment was. She reached for Mrs. Jenkins' hand, her grip steady and reassuring. "You are not alone. We're here for you," she promised, her voice gentle. The older woman began to speak, sharing her fears, her hopes, and all the burdens that had been weighing her down. As the words flowed, Margaret felt her own heart swelling with compassion and love. "Mrs. Jenkins, remember the flowers. They flourish when they are cared for. You too will bloom again. We will help you," she promised, feeling an urgency to bring God's light into this dark hour. As the two women spoke, Samuel's innocent spirit brought laughter again. He began to twirl in the grass, arms spread wide, imitating the butterflies. "Mommy, look! I'm flying!" he shouted, his laughter ringing out like a song of hope. Suddenly, Margaret felt a cascade of peace enveloping her, right down to her core. In that moment, she understood. Each act of kindness was a seed planted, each embrace an affirmation of life in a world filled with uncertainty. They gathered together as an informal circle: Margaret, Samuel, and Mrs. Jenkins. In that sacred space, they prayed, their voices harmonizing like a choir, words of faith swirling around them. "May you find strength, Mrs. Jenkins. May each day bring you more beauty, just like the butterflies." Tears of gratitude shimmered in Mrs. Jenkins' eyes, each one echoing a hidden joy that had been waiting to break free. "Thank you, my dear ones. You are the butterflies today." Margaret's heart soared even higher, a small miracle in the making. As they stepped back from Mrs. Jenkins' porch, the world felt renewed, as if the very air shimmered with divine possibility. Later in the day, when Margaret and Samuel returned home, she found herself unable to shake off the feeling that something extraordinary was on the horizon. What new surprises did God have in store for them? Would they see their faith fulfilled in ways beyond imagination? As she pondered, deep within her spirit, a sweet whisper lingered: "Trust, dear child, for the best is yet to come." The days flowed together like a gentle stream, each one bringing a new wave of miracles. Margaret awoke with a heart dancing in gratitude, each morning revealing vibrant signs from God. Butterflies flitted through her dreams, messages whispered in the breeze, nudging her to hold steadfast to her faith. As she prepared breakfast, a peculiar light danced in through the windows, and she glanced outside. An entire swath of butterflies had gathered around Samuel, who was laughing and twirling in the yard. Her heart leapt, it was as if heaven itself had descended. She watched him for a moment, the way joy radiated from him, how he seemed to float on air, unburdened by fears. "Mommy!" he called, breathless with excitement. "They're celebrating. They want us to join." Suddenly, Margaret's heart swelled with warmth. She realized their story was transforming. No longer were they just waiting for a miracle. They were living it. She felt a tug to take their journey beyond just the confines of their home. "Let us go to the church, Sammy," she said, her voice bubbling with excitement. "We have to share our joy with others." As they arrived at the church, Margaret's spirit soared. The building was filled with familiar faces, laughter mingling with praise. Gathering the congregation, she couldn't contain her enthusiasm. "Brothers and sisters!" she exclaimed, her arms opened wide as if to embrace them all. "Today, we celebrate. The miracles are unfolding." The congregation echoed in excitement, their voices like a rush of wings. Margaret felt a divine energy surge through the air, lifting her spirits higher. Women and men gathered around, eager to hear the latest chapter of their journey, a living testament to faith and perseverance. Samuel climbed onto a stool beside her, bold as ever. "We saw butterflies today," he shared, wide-eyed and radiant. "They were dancing for us. Mommy says they want us to believe." The room erupted into joyous applause, as tears of hope sparkled in the eyes of many. Margaret continued, "Time and again, we've learned, miracles are all around us, waiting to be discovered. But they can only be witnessed when we choose to believe, together. She felt something shift in the atmosphere, a kind of warmth that reassured her that this was the moment they had been waiting for, the signs unfolding before them. That day, she felt emboldened to invite the community into their journey further. "Let us form a butterfly ministry," she proposed. "We will spread hope and love, help each other bloom. Together, we'll share our stories and witness the grace that surrounds us." Excitement rippled through the crowd, hearts swelling with anticipation. The initiative took flight as they began to plan. They crafted beautiful butterfly journals, encouraging families to fill them with drawings and stories, a record of kind acts and moments of grace. Each time they shared their stories, they pulled each other out of despair, revealing how God nourished their hearts. Margaret felt lighter, almost like she was realizing her own transformation in the process. She sensed Samuel's innocence grounding them, a touch of joy that reminded them what it meant to trust. Each flutter of butterfly wings, an echo of faith dancing through the air. Weeks unfolded, interwoven with shared stories and collective prayers. Samuel's laughter became a drumbeat that pulsed through the ministry, his boundless belief inspired everyone. As Margaret stood before the congregation each week, witnessing the power of unity, tears of gratitude flowed freely. One night, as they gathered to pray, a miracle too magnificent to comprehend began to manifest. A gentle whisper brushed through the congregation, cutting through the noise. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Look!" Gasps echoed in the room. A golden light flooded the space, the air trembled with divine presence, and slowly, a figure materialized, a radiant angel, shimmering with unimaginable beauty. Margaret felt the familiar stirrings of her heart, the pulse of anticipation, as the angel opened its wings wide. "I bring a message of hope," it proclaimed. Its voice mellifluous as a choir of celestial beings. "Your faith has opened doors to unimaginable blessings. Know that God hears your hearts and sees your struggles. Continue forward." With each word, Margaret's heart soared. She turned to Samuel, whose eyes sparkled with awe. In that moment, they understood they were never alone. Their faith, nurtured and carved from trials, formed the very essence of God's presence around them. Hours later, as the angel faded into the night, the congregation erupted with praise. They danced and celebrated, hearts interwoven in joyful union. "We will carry this light into every corner," Margaret declared, her spirit unwavering. "For we are no longer just seekers of miracles, we are chosen vessels of His love." The anticipation left a sweet residue in the air. Faith was alive, a living testament. As they emerged from that sacred space, Samuel squeezed Margaret's hand, a bright smile shining on his face. "Mommy, we are like butterflies," he exclaimed, filled with a knowing light. "Yes, my love. We are. And together, we will continue to soar." Margaret gazed toward the sky, where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden rays that ignited the world in warmth. Her heart swelled. They had forged ahead, discovering the power of faith and community. This was just the beginning. As the night wrapped around them, a gentle rush of wind blew past, lifting her spirit even higher. Each moment held a promise. It would be in these moments of discovery that they would continue to find God's gentle whispers, each act of love a step toward transformation, not just for themselves but for everyone who crossed their path. Trust, she thought, a guiding light propelling them deeper into His divine promises. With tender gratitude, Margaret embraced the unfolding, a magnificent tapestry stitched from their journey together, their shared faith, and the most beautiful butterflies fluttering on their path. Now, as the story reaches its climax, dear friends, the next chapters are waiting for you. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't wait for eternity. Act boldly to witness these magnificent faith stories unfold with us. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your simple act ignites a wave of encouragement. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this touching ending. Let your words ripple through faith. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. This is the moment to show your support and reflect God's miraculous power through our stories. Don't wait even one more second to share and spread the light.